African Americans and other people of color are dying from COVID-19 at alarming rates.
This year could have taken away everything.
We're here today because George Floyd is not here.
2020 reminded us we've only come so far.
And many of these restrictions had a disparate impact on Black voters.
A year that threatened decades of progress. And rather than accept it, we decided to fight. We persisted, organized our people, remembered where we came from, and most importantly, remembered where we're going. We organized, we inspired, we voted, and voted, and voted. We volunteered, we remembered. We always remember, because we can't afford to forget, to be counted, to stop the hate, to empower ourselves and our community. We are the NAACP, still fighting for justice, still fighting for survival, still fighting for you.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Ellis of the NAACP Houston County Branch 5203, where I am the chairwoman of the WIN Committee, Women in the NAACP. On behalf of our president, we would like to welcome each and every one of you to our 2021 Meet and Greet with the Candidates. You'll be hearing from the candidates from our Houston County mayoral race and the city council race here in Houston County. Now, we're hoping that you bring from this event a little bit more clarity and understanding, but a lot more incentive to get out, grab your family and your friends, and get out and vote. Now, our early voting starts on October the 12th, and our election day is November the 2nd. Again, we'd like to welcome you. And now on to our introduction with Danielle Katie.
Thank you, Sharon. Hello and good evening. My name is Danielle Cady, and I am a member of the Houston County branch of the NAACP. Welcome to our guests. First, I would like to introduce you all to us. NAACP is the oldest and largest civil rights organization in America. It was founded in 1909 by a group of community leaders, both men and women, Black and white, with a singular goal: equality. The mission of today's NAACP is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of all citizens and to eliminate racial discrimination. The Houston County chapter of the NAACP carries on that mission right here in Middle Georgia. We have a vision of a Houston County that has equal access to voting and representation of our needs in local government, a Houston County that gives every student equal access to education and sports, to local recreation, a Houston County that lifts up the most vulnerable in the community, ensuring equal access to things like food, safe and stable housing and employment, a Houston County that is safe for all of its citizens. We are not monolithic. We are men and women, young and old, military and civilian, rich and poor, liberal and conservative, and yes, people of all skin colors, races, and ethnicities. We have diverse histories that shape who we are as people and as an organization. We, like all of you, are public servants, and we have the same goals and the same mission for Houston County. So I invite you tonight, in the spirit of our beginnings as community leaders, to join us, become a member of Houston County NAACP, and help us ensure equality for all Houston County residents. Next, we have the rules and housekeeping for this evening. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves first before we begin asking questions. The order of questions this evening will be presented first to our mayoral candidates, followed by posts 5, 3, and 1. To be respectful of your time and the time of our members, we will have a strict 2-minute time limit. In the interest of time, we do plan to stop you at 2 minutes. We'd like to be able to get to as many questions as we can. Mr. Cedric Battle, our chairman of Communications, Press, and Publicity Committee, will be our timekeeper. Please be respectful of each other, our speakers, and our members in the chat. Ms. Octavia Richmond, our assistant treasurer, will be monitoring the chat in the question and answer sections. Please feel free to post questions and information in the chat. We can follow up later, even if we don't have time for all the questions this evening. Now I'll pass you to Ms. Jerusha Moss, our Madam Secretary, for candidate introductions. Thank you for being here, and let's begin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerusha Moss, and I have the honor of serving as Secretary for the NAACP Houston County Branch 5203. Tonight, I am pleased to allow each candidate a brief opportunity to introduce themselves to you in 2 or less minutes. When your name is called, please unmute yourself and begin. We will start with post 1 and move to post 3, then 5, and then the mayoral candidates, starting with Ms. Leslie Morales.
Unmute. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me on the panel. I am thrilled to be here, and I'm really excited to be running for City Council, Post 1, City of Warner Robins. I moved to Warner Robins in 1999, and I have raised 2 children, adult children. They both went to Northside High School. And in where I live, which is in very close proximity to the high school and to the elementary school Parkwood over, I see the children walking back and forth to the school from home. And it occurred to me that there are things in the city that I think could benefit the children more. That's one of the things that I really want to focus on during this campaign is the children. We have so many children in the city, and we know that we're not going to be here forever. We need to leave this to the children. So I think that our big focus needs to be on our children and how we're raising them and what options or opportunities that they have available, what types of recreation and things like that that are available to them. And if it's not readily available, then how do we make that readily available to them? That's one of the big things that I really want to see if I can help the city with, if I'm elected to city council. The other thing that I really want to get into is getting our youth more involved in government. We have so many people in the city who have opinions and ideas, and they're great ideas. And I don't think that there is enough youth in government making their voice heard, making them, making people aware of what it is that they feel that they need. And that's one of the things that I also want to do. I was a little nervous to try and run during this campaign because politics is slightly convoluted, and things that you may not understand, you might not get involved with. And I want to change that. I want to make it to where you can understand it. It is simplified and everybody can become involved in it. So that is what I'm running for. And I hope you vote for me November 2nd. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Morales. Next up for post 1, we have Mr. Derek Mack.
How you doing, Ms. Moss? I was trying to log on. I missed the question that was there. If you could repeat it, please.
Okay, so it wasn't a question. We were just allowing you all to introduce yourselves. And I do apologize, I didn't see you come in late. So we're just allowing each candidate to take the time out to introduce themselves to the panelists.
Okay, first of all, my name is Derek Mack. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity and the platform that you've created to give us an opportunity to engage with the people that are members of the NAACP and the others that have logged in to learn more about the candidates that are seeking public office. I'm the incumbent candidate for Post 1 City Council. I'm the newest elected official on the council. I was elected in March of this year to fill a seat that was vacated by the predecessor, Mr. Darren Lee. And I've thoroughly enjoyed serving thus far. And I've learned quite a bit since I've been in office, and I want to continue to grow in that capacity of servitude. And the one thing that I have noticed that's a major need across the entire area of our city is that we don't have any community engagement. There's nothing for our people to do. We're constantly having to travel just to find things to do in our leisure and in our downtime. We don't have any green space. We don't have real parks where people can come to relax and bring their families. We don't have any city-sponsored events to show them that we appreciate them. I want to advocate for that. I want there to be complete diverse inclusiveness for all of its people. Warner Robins is a very dynamic place, but we haven't been representing that well. And I want to continue to serve in that capacity because I just feel like there's a need for recreational use for all of us, especially our children. I grew up in this community, and believe it or not, the rec center was our safe haven. Our parents in my genre, we felt comfortable. Our parents felt comfortable leaving us at the rec center because they knew we were safe. Because an idle mind is a devil's workshop, and we have to be mentors to the mentees and show them the right way that they should carry themselves when their parents are not around. It takes a village to bring the city full circle. We're at a crossroads right now. Public safety is very important to me. I would like to continue to empower our police chief and give him the tools necessary to be successful in what he does. We also need to encourage our parents to get involved in their kids' business. Parenting is key. It's a collective effort from our city government and our households. But
All right, thank you, Mr. Mack. We'll move on to the next candidate.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mr. Mack. So for the next candidates, we will have post 2. That will be Miss Eugene. You're up next.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angie Eugene, and I'm running for City Council Post 3 in Warner Robins, Georgia. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, and I migrated to the U.S. in 1989 to New York City. I have 2 children and 1 grandchild. Hoping for a second. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 2000. I am an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and a community servant at heart. My academic endeavors include my doctorate of philosophy degree from CICA University. I'm an ordained minister, a certified life coach, and I'm certified in human trafficking. In 2005, I moved to Warner Robins, Georgia, where I opened many businesses. I'm a proud recipient of the 2016 Achievement Award for Outstanding Community Outreach and Activism in Middle Georgia. I also obtained a proclamation from Warner Robins City Hall in 2018. Additionally, I was awarded the President's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2017 from the White House. I collaborate with many different organizations, including the Chamber of Commerce, the Red Cross, and many other organizations that provide public service. Opening my business and Trinity Vision Global Inc. was some of my dreams and goals, and I accomplished those. I love my city of Warner Robins, and I want to serve my community even more as councilwoman of Post 3, Warner Robins. My platform is legacy, transparency, and community involvement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Morales. I'm sorry, Ms. Eugene. Next up for Post 3, we will have Mr. Keith Lawrence.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us tonight. My name is Keith Lauritsen, and I've been blessed to serve 2 terms working for the city and serving our citizens. And I'm a lifelong educator. I've spent my life working with children and families through education, also through youth sports and activities. And it's been truly a pleasure to be able to serve in a legislative way to support those same children and families. I want to say that I'm very jealous of Miss Angie Eugene, and mostly because she has a grandchild. I have 3 children, but I don't have any grandchildren yet, but I'm looking forward to having hopefully. And so anyway, I am a lifelong resident of Warner Robins. I'm 57 years old, and I graduated from Warner Robins High School, and I've just lived here all my life. And it's been a pleasure to serve this city, to be involved at another level. And I want to continue to do that. My priorities continue to be public safety as number 1. As we continue to grow our police department and provide additional resources, it is my intention to make that priority number 1 always. And I also would like to continue to support our recreation department. We've done over $50 million in projects and upgrades to our recreational facilities over the last 3 or 4 years, and we look forward to continuing that. Just to piggyback on one of Mr. Mack's comments about green space, I'm in full agreement. We need more green space. We're about to start a park at Ted Wright on Moody Road that will have a great addition of green space, splash pads, playground, all sorts of things. So those are important things, and I think we're growing in those directions. I believe over the last year or so, we've probably made more progress than in the entirety of the time I've been in office. And I think that's thanks to a reorganization and also just working together. I think we've worked together well over the last year or so, and I'm very thankful for that and just happy to be a part of it. I do believe that our city needs to practice financial responsibility, and that is also a priority of mine as well, to make sure that we are financially feasible throughout this time, especially as we're experiencing skyrocketing inflation. Inflation will impact our city just like it does individuals. Therefore, we need to provide support, but also need to make sure that our city is financially responsible and that we're maintaining our feasibility.
All right, Mr. Keith, I appreciate it. We're going to move on to the next candidate.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mr. Larson. So the next post that we're going to be talking to or being introduced to is Post 5, and I see we have Mr. Michael Jones here on the call with us.
Thank you, Ms. Moss. First, I want to thank the NAACP for hosting this event. You guys do a lot of great work. actually been able to be a part of the NAACP, to see it in an intimate way is really, really amazing. You guys do great work. And that's kind of what I want to do for the city. I've noticed that there is a need for change. I see that a lot of the current council members have become very, very complacent, and they just don't want to allow the progressive that needs to happen or the progress. So one thing that I've realized about a lot of politicians is that they continue to assume they know what everybody wants rather than actually taking the time to care for the citizens and ask them. So that's what we've been doing. We've been canvassing the streets of my post, trying to see exactly what it is that is needed for them. What are their concerns? What are their issues? Whether it's the older, whether it's the younger, they all have different issues and concerns, and they all need to be addressed. I feel that the north side of town, which is what I will represent, has been neglected for far too long. I don't feel like enough money is being put into the area. I don't feel like enough industry is being sent over to the area. And I feel like we really need to change those things. Those are the things that I want to address. My platform is simple: trust, truth, and transparency. I believe we need trust. We need to trust that the government is doing the best for the citizens. The only way to do that is to always be truthful and to always be transparent. So that's things that I would like to do. I would like to host town halls again so that we can actually get the citizens in front of their government so they can tell them what they need rather than the government attempting to do what might not be necessary. I am very young. I'm not going to lie. I'm 32 years old, but I am up to the task. I might be the only millennial here, but I do have a unique perspective that allows me to bridge that gap. So I'm here to serve for Post 5. I'm also here to serve for Warner Robins. My name is Michael Jones, and I am here to give a voice to the voiceless. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Next up, we have the mayor candidates. We'll start with Ms. Patrick.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, everyone. And thank you so much for inviting us to have this virtual meet and greet with NAACP. I admire the organization, known about it my whole life, and I actually signed up to be a member earlier this year. So my name is LaRonda Patrick. I am a candidate for mayor of Warner Robins. I am a mother. I am an attorney. I am a small business owner, and I run for office because I'm ready for, as I've heard said already, I'm ready for change. In addition to being an attorney and a small business owner, I'm also a public servant. Public service is what I am at heart. I am the daughter and wife of a veteran. I am the granddaughter of 2 Vietnam vets. So Robins Air Force Base and the military and our service members are extremely important to me. My journey to mayor was not made lightly. My journey started back when I was a student at Georgia State University. I had the opportunity of working at the General Assembly for the House of Representatives and also the State Senate, full-time administrative staff. While I was there, I got to see the reality of the legislative process, the things that really happen behind the scenes in the passing of our laws. And that's when my interest in politics sparked. So I run for change instead of being complacent. Many of us complain about what we see going on right now in our community, but we have to have the courage to stand up and say, today is the day we make a change and be the change we want to see. But since that spark in me ignited, everything I've done has been in preparation for me to make a step like I'm making today. I've worked at the city level of government, the state, and the federal level. I have worked for companies ranging from $7 million to $650 million annually. I've managed over $100 million worth of contracts at one time. I've procured over $250 million worth of government contracts and commercial for companies across our state. I say all this just to show you that I have the knowledge, the skill, the education, and what it takes to work and run a city the size of Warner Robins. And today I come to put people over power and ensure that we have the proper elected officials in office who are not in there for self. So I look forward to serving as your mayor.
I believe the Ms. Moss was muted. She probably, I'm assuming she came on over to me for my introduction. Is that correct?
I apologize. I didn't realize I was still on mute. You are correct. So
All right.
now we will hear from Mr. Stephen Bauer.
All right, my name is Stephen Boyer. I'm a longtime resident of Warner Robins. Graduated with high school here in Warner Robins, and after high school joined the Navy. After I got out of the Navy, I came back home, started a family, and got my bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting. I was employed with a defense contractor here as a project controller and helped budget and manage large defense contracts here. More recently, I'm self-employed for the last 5 years. I run personal finance retreats held at different regions throughout the country. And also, I was an Air Force reservist here at Robins Air Force Base from 2009 to 2015 with the 94th Aerial Port Squadron. I'm running for mayor because, as many people have mentioned before, we need a change. Not just in light of recent events, which there are many, that have put Warner Robins on the map and shown us in a less than ideal light, but for long term. I mean, future is a long time, and we need to make sure that we have the right leaders in place that can rethink how things are going to be done in the future and position the city in ways for us to benefit, and the city and the people to benefit accordingly. You know, we have technologies changing things, industries are changing. We need to make sure that we have forward-thinking leaders in these positions, leaders who are willing to think outside the box, think in ways that that may not be traditional, and really position the city and the citizens in a positive way moving forward. I would like to say also, thank you very much to the NAACP for hosting this and for doing all the great work that you do. I have stood, walked, marched alongside many of you over the last few years, and you know, my work here and my mission here has been noticed, and I've officially been endorsed by the Fair Fight Action organization. So I appreciate what you do, and I'm glad that we've been able to do a lot of this alongside each other over the last few years. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
Okay, so for the next session, we will have the questions asked by Ms. Sharon Ellis and Ms. Danielle Katie.
Hi, good afternoon. All right, so we're going to start first with the mayoral candidates. I'll be asking a series of 2 questions apiece, and I do want to remind you to try to stick to our time constraints, okay? I'm going to start first with Mr. Boyer. The first question, sir, for you. Warner Robins has no public transportation. It's not bike friendly and does not have trails or adequate sidewalks for walking, neither recreationally nor to connect communities to shopping and employment. What are your plans to increase transportation here in Warner Robins?
Transportation is a big deal. You know, we needed to get places. So the problem is what we have a walkability issue. You know, we are spread out. Our neighborhoods are built nowhere near grocery stores and other shopping and recreational options. So in order to get anywhere in town, we need a car. So this is not going to be a short-term fix. We all of us, I think, have been here a number of years, and we see that there are a lot of sidewalks that have been put in over the last 10 years that I've noticed. And, you know, work is being done in that way. One of the things that I would like to point out is that we can put in a lot of sidewalks, but a lot of people don't even use the sidewalks because the distance to get from their house to wherever they want to go is just too far to walk. So again, the long-term fix would be to start focusing on more mixed use spaces, focus on a little bit of dense, providing a more dense housing. The short term issue is, you know, it's hard to walk or bike, whether it's just distance or safety could be the barriers for why people don't do that. I would say that we would have to look at this. Like I said in my opening statement, we need to look at this with very forward looking. The trends are, you know, when we think of public transportation, we think of bus lines, we think of vans, we think of, you know, people waiting at a bus stop, waiting for the bus to come and then drop them off. That won't work here. That will not work here because any bus stop would be too far probably from someone's house. So I would say we need to rethink a way to provide help for those people who want transportation, who may not have a car. And I'm watching the time here, just give me like 10 more seconds. And then whether that's develop a local app to connect drivers with people who need rides or not. But I don't think that the key is to just go back to the traditional bus system. That's very, it's very expensive. And I think that there's a better way to make it more effective. People will actually use it.
Ms. Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for that. All right, and the next question is to Ms. Patrick. Ms. Patrick, what role does local government play in stopping this pandemic? How can we best support local hospitals and healthcare workers who bear the brunt of the coronavirus surges with full hospitals and nursing shortages?
All right, thank you for that question. The pandemic, that's just something we are all facing in different ways. The pandemic has affected our homes and our families and our lives in ways we never would have imagined 3 years ago. We are all trying to bounce back from this pandemic, and the local government is something, well, we depend on our local government, our local leaders to lead us through this time. Across our nation, you're having city governments, county, states, who are rearranging priorities in the midst of pandemic. Our local hospital, Houston Medical Center, we need to really rely on our local hospital. We have many nice hospitals around here, but Houston Medical Center is the heart of our community, and we need to really use them for their services. They have great medical staff. We need to recruit more medical staff for their location so that we're having people that are, we're having our customers being able to be serviced more quickly. We know the wait times are very high. We need to utilize our urgent care facilities. Some of them are owned by Houston Medical Center. Just disseminating that information to constituents so they see their options. I don't know how many times I've seen people sitting in emergency rooms or heard about people sitting in the emergency room during pandemic with 10-hour wait times. And I go by our urgent care centers and there are people there, but it's not oversaturated. We've got to call attention to that. We look to our leaders to help us adjust during this time, not just with allowing us to have information about our medical care and opportunities, but also helping us understand the importance of masking up, getting vaccinated, and if you choose not to do so, other protective measures that you can take for yourself and also helping our community and especially our children. Our schools, we're having the same issue. We need leaders that are conscious of what teachers and administration are going through in our schools with our children who are unable to be vaccinated.
Thank you for that. All right, and the next question is going to go to Mr. Bauer. Mr. Bauer, how do you plan to address the lawsuits against Warner Robins and restore our city's reputation?
Well, we have the lawsuits that you addressed. One is a lawsuit for, as I understand it, you know, I'm not a lawyer and I know what I read in the newspapers. And I'm sure that all of these lawsuits are going through their process. So what I can say is it appears that some of these should not have happened. Not the lawsuits, but the situation that caused the lawsuits. You know, I will say this. Growing up, I've been told you are as good as your word. And I will not string companies along, developers along, and then get them down the road where they have incurred costs or had certain expectations, and then back out whenever I had the political power to do so. So I will be consistent in the way that I deal with businesses or developers who want to come and do business in Warner Robins. We cannot have a reputation where we do not follow through with what we say, whether it's with the housing development that was being planned for Perkins Field, whether it's the A2D lawsuit, where it appears that work was done under a certain agreement, and then whenever it came time to follow through with that, we decided to hold back. And it doesn't just hold the city back from being able to do the smart city things, but it also holds the contractor who did the work back from being able to use it based on what appeared to be their original agreement. So we just need to be consistent, follow through with what we do, say what we're going to, do what we say we're going to do as a city. And I think that's the best way to repair our reputation.
Thank you so much for that. All right, Ms. Patrick, this next question is for you. All right, so many people have expressed concerns regarding the budget and how the money is being spent. What are your plans? Did I read that one on regaining trust and transparency in the budget process? I'll read it again, Ms. Patrick. Many people have expressed concerns regarding the budget and how money is being spent. What are your plans to regaining trust and transparency in the budget process?
Okay, thank you. So budget. Efficient use of our hard-earned tax dollars is going to be top of my plans for our city. What we have seen recently has been the opposite of that. We have a budget. Many of us probably have not seen it or even know how it came to be, but it does exist. And I will tell you, one thing that I can say about our current local government is there is a lack of transparency. There's also this unwritten rule that makes constituents such as you and I feel as if we are not permitted to have certain information, especially if it deals with money coming in or money going out. One way to solve that issue that we are all seeing right now is to ensure we are having transparency. The city of Warner Robins is a business worth over $100 million. When you have a business, a corporation, the owners are the shareholders. The owners of Warner Robins are the taxpayers, you and I. In a corporation, the shareholders have knowledge, they're updated, they're respected, they are treated as if they are owners of the company. We will be treated as such in our city as well. How am I going to do this? We are going to have a budget that's going to be on display and available to all taxpayers. Do we have this now? We do, but here's another element. We're going to have quarterly meetings that will be mandatory for all council members to go into their own posts and make sure they explain our quarterly report. That's our money in, money out, ordinances or laws that are passed, what we're doing now, what we're planning to do in the next quarter. And this way, the people that elect them will not only see them when it's time for an election, they will see them regularly. And they also be asking what they think about our budget. What do they think about our plans going forward? Then there'll be no questions.
Thank you so much for that. All right. And from here, that's the only questions I have for our mayoral candidates. And I'll be turning it over to Danielle.
I believe we have post 5. Hello, Mr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 3 questions for you.
Okay.
The first, you said yourself that you're very young. What experience and expertise do you bring to the table? What would you say to people who have concerns about how young you are? And what makes you the best candidate for post 5?
Thank you for that question. So yes, I did mention I am the youngest candidate here. At 32 years old, I do feel though that I've had enough life experience to understand the issues and the concerns. I've spent a lot of time, and when I say a lot of time, I do mean a lot of time studying a lot of political issues. I used to host this podcast where I would speak on all of the things that were going on, and I would try to find active solutions to those issues. I'm very detail oriented. I have a great critical thinking and analysis skills, and these are the things that I would like to bring to council. I feel like I have this idea of moving us forward, and I feel like the things that we can do can be done. It's just we're not doing them because they're being held up. So I feel like I have a voice, and I feel like there's not enough people that are speaking out or people that have a chance to speak out. They're not being heard. I have a very, very, very big heart. And when it comes to my community, I just want to do the best for them. I've been trusted with their respect and with their admiration. And I feel that by doing the things that I've normally done, I can amplify that by being on council. I have a degree in psychology. I was also in the National Guard as a behavioral health technician. So I'm very intimate with understanding the way that people think and the way that you respond to the way that they think. So it's me being able to actually address those concerns, bring it to the council, bring it to the mayor, and actually find solutions. I'm very, very solution oriented. I don't like talking more about the problem than the solution. So these are things that I would bring. I don't really believe that my age has any effect on the things that I'm going to do. And I feel that I've gained a lot of respect and trust from the people that I'm trying to that I'm trying to represent. So I feel that just through the things that I've done, through the experiences that I've learned through school, through self-study, and I am very, very open to listening to people who are smarter than me, because I need to also be able to not be a know-it-all. So I want to bring those things to council, and I want to allow the people to help me lead them.
Thank you. Next question is, how will you foster a positive working relationship with the mayor and other council members to ensure community concerns are being addressed and expectations met?
That's actually a really good question. So one of the things that I noticed is it seems like council and mayor are normally going back and forth and not in a very positive way. I think we need to actually look at each other as teammates, as coworkers, as the people who have been trusted with moving this city forward. It can't be about personal agendas. It can't be about biases. It can't be about he said, she said. We have to literally come together, work together, and also with the city administrator. These people that I'm going to be working with are 7 of 80,000. And we are the ones who have to move this city forward. So to me, I think we need to actually get together outside of just council meetings. I think we need to have other regularly scheduled meetings where we talk, we bring camaraderie. And I think that by doing such, we can allow ourselves to be more than just councilmen. We can be pillars of this community. We represent different posts, except for 1 and 2, since they're at large, but we can also look out for the other posts. My main priority will always be post 5, but I think, I represent for this whole city. So therefore, if I can help out in other areas, I would definitely do such. And I feel that the other councilmen, if they would want to do that, I feel like we could really, really work together towards the things that we're trying to do. There's a lot of ordinances that we need to look at. There's a lot of things that we need to have a conversation about, and we have to address those things, like I said, not from a personal bias, not from what can I get from it. We're not politicians, or we shouldn't be. We're public servants. We are here to serve the public in the best interest, and they've given us that, opportunity by voting for us. So to me, I think the best way is to have relationships outside of council and to host certain things, have community events where we all show up and we all come together. Maybe it's cookouts, or maybe it's town halls, or whatever that may be. I think that we need to start having a vested interest in doing those kind of things, so that way we can actually find ways to work together in and outside of City Hall.
Thank you. The last question.
Okay.
How will you balance the needs of young people in Middle Georgia with a local government that has not traditionally been representative of the young?
Wow. So one of the things that I do notice is we lose so much talent. We have one of the best educational systems in Georgia, and that's without a doubt. But what we do is not retain that talent. So they're going to other cities. I think we need to figure out ways by actually talking to Generation Z and millennials and ask them, what is it that would keep you here? What is it that you feel is not, is lacking in this area, whether it's a downtown, whether it's culture, whether it's art, whether it's industry? What is it that you want? We need to actually be able to assist them in finding things that will help them stay here. So as a younger individual, I think that I'm, in a unique position to actually be relatable to them, to understand their needs on an intimate level, and then also be able to relay it, because I'm in a certain kind of area where I'm not Gen Z, I am millennial, but closer to the Generation X. So I do have a great way of being able to relate to a whole bunch of different generations. I truly believe that by listening to the concerns, by seeing the things that they're interested in, and by trying to bring those things to the city, we can actually attract more young individuals to contribute their amazing assets. And then once they do graduate, and go to colleges around here, we need to provide other things for them. We need a nightlife for them. We need for them to not have to go to Macon or to Perry to go to their downtowns. We need our own downtown area. We need a work, live, play situation. We need to provide the opportunities that the young people are looking for, so we can stop losing this amazing talent. Like I said, there are some very brilliant individuals coming out of these schools, but they're going to work for other areas. So to me, I think we need to really reach out to them. We need to talk to them. We need to understand them. And we need to take the time to address the things that they say that they want and that they need, and stop acting like we know what it is and actually provide when they tell us what it is. So those are the things that I think we should actually do when it comes to addressing them.
Thank you so much. Now I will pass it back to Ms. Sharon for post.
Thank you so much, Danielle. All right, and these questions are for post 3. Mr. Lordson, Councilman Lordson, and Ms. Eugene. And I'm going to start with Ms. Eugene first. All right, Ms. Eugene, I'm going to ask you the same question. Warner Robins has no public transportation. It's not bike friendly and does not have trails or adequate sidewalks for walking, neither recreationally nor to connect communities to shopping or employment. What would your plans be to increase transportation here in Warner Robins?
Hello. Okay, so one of the things I am very involved with the community through my nonprofit. I had a young lady that came to me, and she says she lives over at Randall Heights, which is on that side of town. And for her to get to the WIC office, which is all the way 96, she has to pay $40. So transportation in certain areas are very much needed. We do have a bike trail up and down Fagan Mill Road, which is great. I see a lot of people utilizing it, but we should have walkways and enough lighting. Light is very important for safety throughout Warner Robins. There are certain areas that does not have sidewalks. So I really believe that everyone should have enough lit areas for their own safety. And transportation in certain areas must be a must, especially the people who are underprivileged and need it the most. In certain areas, it's just non-existent. We do have the Warner Robins Transit, but it's limited routes. Also, when people are waiting for the buses, there isn't a safe place that's guarded or lit for them to wait for the buses there. And I'm talking about the whole of Warner Robins, not just certain areas. So being a council person and speaking to the public, safety is very important. So it's transportation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I do want to remind you both of the 2-minute time limit. The next question is for Councilman Lauritsen. What do you see as the future of police and community engagement? How can local governments support transparency and trust between the police and the community that they serve?
Can you say the first part of that question one more time?
Yes. What do you see as the future of police and community engagement?
Thank you. Well, you know, this is, of course, my number one priority is public safety. So I put a lot of thought into policing. And I think policing is a people business. We need to make sure that we hire the right people to build relationships in the community, because we can't effectively police them if we don't connect with them. And that could be, you know, making sure we hire a diverse population to represent us, represent our police department, but also means that we need to be out in the community getting to know our citizens. I watch school resource officers all the time interacting with students, and they do a fabulous job. And it's those relationships that connect them. They can get these children to do and to inspire in many, many ways just because of that relationship they have. Policemen need to be personal. They need to be personable. They need to be able to communicate and interact with the public. Yes, they're going to be in situations where they're going to have to act quickly and abruptly, but there are often times when things can be diffused and de-accelerated to the point to where they can be much more effective. And I think that's what our police department is doing right now. I think they're doing a very good job of that. And we encourage them to continue to do that. Policing is a very important issue. And I believe with all my heart that if we stay on task of making sure that we're communicating well with the public, being fair, being honest, treating with a great deal of respect, you can be dealing with someone and a very difficult issue, but if you treat them with a great deal of respect and dignity, you're going to accomplish a lot more, and it'll be received in a better way. So I think that's really the key for our police to connect the community, is to be in the community, to get to know them and build relationships. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, and Ms. Eugene, this next question is for you. What plans do you have to revitalize older areas of Post 3 without driving out lower income families or older residents who live in those areas?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thank you. There is several businesses here in Post 3 that has closed due to the pandemic. Incentives, so entrepreneurs can build their businesses here in Warner Robins. Incentives. Also, through my nonprofit, we have a business after hours. I'm also a member of the Chamber of Commerce, where we do ribbon cuttings for new businesses that is opening. So incentives. Instead of having a baby shower, give them a business shower, which means it's a basket and you fill the basket up with office supplies and you gift that to people who's starting out a new business, and it empowers them. It makes them feel good, and it gives them encouragement to start their new business. We have a lot of talented people here in Warner Robins that has brilliant, brilliant ideas. They want to start everything from music careers to designer clothing. And we just need to give them that opportunity and a platform to be able to do that. I see so many young people. I have even interviewed some of them, and all of those videos are on the Angie for Change website. But they want to do things. They just don't know how to go about doing it. So let's give them the opportunity. Let's have incentives for them to start and run their business. And I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so that's really, really something that I have been working diligently on. Where do you get your business license? Where do you register with the state? Where do you get whatever it is you need to start up your business? How do you start? And those are things that we talk about in Business After Hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the last question again is for Councilman Lordson. What role does local government play in stopping this pandemic? How can we best support local hospitals and healthcare workers who bear the brunt of the coronavirus surges with full hospitals and nursing shortages?
Yes, thank you. This has been a very difficult time for our world, for our state, our nation, and our local community. I have several family members that work at Houston Medical Center, and I can assure you, I know just how difficult things are right now. I do think as far as an approach from the local government is concerned, we have to be very careful. We can support all those things that hopefully stem the tide of the pandemic, but we have to be very careful about not overreaching too far into people's personal lives. I do believe that the key to the pandemic and solving it is being vaccinated. As many of our population will and can be vaccinated, I think that's going to help reduce the serious illness and the hospitalizations. So I just want to encourage everyone that's able and willing to be vaccinated that they do that, because I do think that is the key to winning this fight. I also believe that at times there's necessary instances for people to be masked. Especially if they're not vaccinated, or if they're compromised, health-wise, and they just need to be more protected. So those are some things that I think as individuals that we have to do ourselves in our community, and our families, and our businesses, and all that we do. We need to take individual responsibilities for those things. I really don't believe that the government's role is to interfere in our lives when it comes to these types of things. I don't think that it's worked so well around the country when governments have gotten more involved, and I certainly don't think it will work at the local level. We do need to support the state and the federal government and what they have set aside as law. We need to make sure that we're doing that. I know at times we've had somewhat of lockdowns back in the early pandemic time, and we followed those guidelines, I think, very well. And I think we continue to need to heed the advice of the local health community, the CDC, and everything they tell us to do. But again, I think government's role is limited somewhat in this pandemic and solving its personal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I thank both of you for your time. And now over again to Miss Danielle.
All right, I have last but not least, post one candidates, Mr. Derek Mack and Ms. Leslie Morales. First question will go to Ms. Morales. How will you increase government participation and transparency so that constituents can actively participate in the process? I believe you're still on mute.
I am on mute. That is definitely one of the things that I definitely want to work on is community involvement in government. I think that in general, unanswered phone calls, unanswered emails, unanswered questions they get a lot of frustration for people who are trying to find things out. if you go long periods of time without hearing from somebody, you're just going to eventually give up. And that's not what I want the citizens of Warner Robins to do. I don't want them to feel that they can't try and contact somebody. I actually opened up a cell phone line strictly for this campaign. And if you go to my Facebook page at Leslie M for City Council, that number is on there, and you can text me and you can call me. One of my main goals is to make sure that City Council and city government is open to everyone in the community. That's community, involvement is one of the awareness, involvement, and enhancement is one of the biggest things that we need. If the community is not aware, then they can't voice their opinion. And if the city council is not aware of what the community has to communicate, then we can't really accurately represent the citizens of Warner Robins. So I think that everybody says transparency, but absolutely make yourself available, make myself available to anybody who has questions, and answer them in a manner that's not, 2 weeks down the road, or, or never answered at all, because that's frustrating, and people, it just doesn't do well, and it doesn't do well for community. And that's what we really need to build up, is community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is for Mr. Mack. Many local businesses are understaffed. How do you plan to attract a diverse workforce to our area along with more businesses?
Well, I'm an advocate for small businesses in many capacities. Our mom and pop shops have been starving, especially during the pandemic. But what they have shown is resiliency and the wherewithal to push through the new world that we're living in. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So what I like to do is advocate for our small businesses by providing a space to have small business job fairs, and giving them a place to post their job openings, to empower them and to keep them encouraged and let them know that they are the backbone to our community, because for a person to invest in our community and take the time and their savings to invest in a small business, that means they directly care about their city and the people that live in it. And what they've done most is recognize a void that needs to be filled in the city that made them say, hey, if not me, then who? So they've invested their time and their money in small business, and our city government needs to keep them at the forefront of their thoughts when we balance our budget moving forward, with incorporating an all-inclusive spirit and atmosphere for everybody, and make sure that that wealth and knowledge and for any type of assistance that they need is available for them at any given time throughout the city, and ensure that it's diverse in all areas of our city, because Warner Robins is a prosperous city, but it's slowly becoming a tale of two cities, with one living in the shadow of prosperity. And if you take my hand as being the body of this city, there's a part of the city that's broken, and that's the thumb. And without that thumb, you cannot really grasp a hold of the entire city so that it lives up to its expectation and to meet the expectation that it's destined for, and to continue the spirit of the international city, which means that there's an opportunity to everybody and for everybody to exceed in all endeavors that they wish to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question for Ms. Morales. What role does local government play in stopping this pandemic? How can we best support local hospitals and healthcare workers who bear the brunt of the coronavirus surges, full hospitals, and nursing shortages?
That is a really tough and excellent question. I think that one of the biggest problems is I think that government should be minimal in dictating what citizens should do. I think that if a private business says that they want their business run a specific way, if you need to wear a mask inside of their facility, that you should wear your mask inside of their facility. Hospital workers, they are overworked, and due to mandates for vaccinations, we have lost some hospital workers, and that's unfortunate. I don't know where the answer is for that. Incentive for vaccinations, incentive for, additional workers to come to facilities. I think that education is the biggest benefit that we can give the community. Making them aware of the benefits of vaccination if that is their choice, how to remain safe if vaccination isn't their choice, and just working with the hospitals and the healthcare providers in general to find out what it is that they need, how it is that we can help them, and having an open conversation and a back and forth conversation. Absolutely having an open communication with the facilities to find out what it is that they need. Beyond that, I don't really have an answer, and I don't think that anybody really does.
Thank you so much. Last question for Mr. Mack. Changes are coming on base. How will the city adjust to J-Stars leaving the area? How do you anticipate those changes will affect growth in our city?
Well, the good thing about our state representatives and our senators is that there are proposed workloads coming to fill that space. We have started overhauling some of those airplanes with the J-Stars as that fleet has gotten old. But Warner Robins has a responsibility to strengthen the relationship and address the concerns of the citizens and the constituents that live here and thrive on Robins Air Force Base on a daily basis, not necessarily for employment, but for the revenue that comes from those jobs that are there on that base. But at the same time, we have to be independent of the base, because at any given time, these things happen. That's why it's really important to me, like some of the other councilmen have said, it's really important to me that we are an advocate for other industry in this area. We have to create the capacity, whether it be water and or sewage and land, to also provide a tax base for our city to offset rooftops. And to me, we haven't done enough. We have one of the greatest assets in the state, and we have not done enough to strengthen a relationship to see what the needs are for these different squadrons, for these different workloads, so that we can empower them and encourage them to stay, whether it be through any type of incentives that we can provide for them, and find out exactly what their mission is, so they can create a safe place for them to continue to strive and defend our country and the warfighter that we take advantage of, we take for granted every day. You look at other communities that I've lived in, if you look at San Antonio, Texas, our community is full of people that migrated here because that base closed down. So one thing we need to do is not take for granted that this base is going to be here for the long haul. So we have to create space for new industry coming here. And one thing that I would like to revisit is a joint use of that runway to create a large base of economic development, so we can have other distribution centers such as Amazon, FedEx, Google fly directly into Robins with the 93 acres of land that we have purchased at the north end of this runway for industry development and economic development. And we need to push forward. If you look on the GMA website, it's supposed to be an ongoing project, and we need to work with the military leaders on Robins Air Force Base and continue to put forth an effort to strengthen that relationship as far as GRAMP and the joint use of that runway for economic development is concerned.
Thank you very much. I believe that we have Mr. Clifford Holmes from Post 5.
Yes. Good evening.
Hello, Mr. Holmes. How are you?
Doing well. How are you all?
Good. Will you start off with a 2-minute introduction? We'll start the timer for you.
Yes. I'm Clifford Holmes, married, 2 kids, 2 grandkids, and 1 great-grandkid. Retired educator, 42 years, 40 years in Houston County, 2 years at the State Department of Education in Atlanta. City councilman, this is my 12th year serving. I had a 4-year vacancy there. I ran for mayor and was not successful at that. 4 years on the Warner Robins Housing Authority. I think it was about 8 years on the Warner Robins Hospital Authority, well, Houston County Hospital Authority. Member of the Phoenix Center Behavior Disorder Board of Directors for 2 years. The Middle Georgia Workforce Consortium since 2003. Chair where I serve as chairman of the Youth Council. Middle Georgia Clean Air Coalition, Middle Georgia Region Commission, where I represent the city of Warner Robins in that area. Member of Warner Robins CME Church, where I'm former choir director for the Evangelical Gospel Choir, as well as the treasurer for the church, the steward board. The Georgia Municipal Association, second vice president of that organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes, you will have 2 minutes to answer this question. Many things have changed throughout your many years in politics, but especially these last 2 years. What do you see as the major changes to how post-5 government will move forward in a post-COVID world?
Post-5, there are a number of, first of all, there are a number of ideas and plans on the table for post-5. They are on the table today because they were not funded several years ago. But we have not given up on getting those things done. As far as the population post-5 moved several years ago, it didn't just happen, moved several years ago when they developed Russell Parkway and began developing new homes on that side of town. There was a time, in fact, when I moved over here in 1970, there were automobile dealerships all on Davis Drive. They're not on Davis Drive now, they're on Watson Boulevard. Yeah, they're all on Watson Boulevard now. The population is the key thing there. The citizens have, some of them have prospered, and in return to prospering, they move, they better themselves, and you don't hold that against anyone. We have some citizens that's been on this side of town for many, many years, constituents of mine, and they'll tell me quickly, I didn't move and I don't plan on moving. I'm going to stay on this side of town.
Thank you. Last question, Mr. Holmes. How do you balance the needs of young people in Middle Georgia with a local government that has not traditionally been representative of the young?
Good question, and I like how you said not traditionally, because years ago in the, I'm gonna say in the 80s, 90s, in the 90s, we had a young man that actually served on council, and I think he served one term, and he's in Atlanta now. I know where he was. He moved from here to Atlanta. But we've got to do more to attract our young people to stay here in the area. In order to do that, we've got to give them something that interests them. We are stagnant when it comes to plans, including ideas and things for our young people to do. You look at television, I look at television, all of us look at television, and we see other cities around immediately close to us that provide activities for the young people. Sports-wise, we match, nobody matches with us when it comes to that. But activity, daily activity, we got the colleges right here in town, but those young people go elsewhere for entertainment. We've got to do something about that. We've got to provide a work environment for our young people to make them stay here. The desire is there, they are wanted, they're certainly wanted, but we just got to show them that they are wanted. And I guess the biggest thing is we've got to provide a listening ear, and then be sure we understand what it is that young person is asking for.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Post 5. Thank you, everyone, for all your time this evening. Now I would like to introduce you to our Houston County NAACP President, Mr. Jonathan Johnson, for closing remarks.
Thank you all this afternoon for all that you all have done or said and your plans on making this a greater city. I'd like to thank everyone for participating with the NAACP forum tonight. I want to give everybody a round of applause. I wish all of you the best opportunity moving forward. Good evening, and thank you so much for accepting the NAACP invitation. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me.
Thank you, Jonathan Johnson, for this opportunity. You're an old friend. I've been knowing you for a lot of years, and
Yep. Yes, you're very welcome.
They needed to rush us over to meet with the specialist